Certainly a funky end to the 2024 regular season for the Washington Commanders, as they really had the fight in the second half to secure their 12th win of this historic regular season for the Burgundy and Gold. But they got the job done today, led by Marcus Mariota by a final score of 23-19. Mariota getting 3 touchdowns in the second half after Jayden Daniels and the offense had nothing going in the entire first half. Dan Quinn ends up sitting Jayden for the second half. And then Mariota comes in and delivers multiple big-time clutch plays, and he was phenomenal. And we're going to be breaking down this game here in just a second, guys. But make sure you subscribe to the channel. We're going to have you guys updated with the latest injury updates. We're going to have our wild card preview, whether it's the Rams or whether it's the Buccaneers this week. We know it's a road playoff game, and the Commanders are locked in at the 6th spot in the NFC playoff picture this year. It's going to be a fun one here. Going to be a fun ride in the playoffs, and playoff football is back in Washington. So make sure you click that subscribe button, because if I have any inclination here, guys, I'm pretty sure you better get used to playoff football here in the nation's capital. First game ball, it's pretty obvious, right? Marcus Mariota, 15 of 18, 3 touchdowns, for this team when he was in at quarterback. He was phenomenal in this football game, plain and simply. 83% completion percentage and 161 passing yards. He added even more than that on the ground. He had some very clutch runs in this football game as well. And, he played better than Jayden Daniels today. He did. And he deserves kudos for that. Now, I'm not saying, of course, Jayden Daniels is worse than Marcus Mariota or anything like that. But Marcus really came in and saved the day. The offense was really struggling. And he comes in and immediately, it's sprung back to life. And it's not like the Cowboys defense has been awful, down the stretch. They've been pretty good with Micah Parsons, Deron Bland, Jordan Lewis. They got some good players on that group. And Mariota, time and time again, delivered the big throws when they needed to be delivered. And he deserves a massive amount of credit for that. Number 2 game ball, Jonathan Allen. He came back from that pectoral tear back in week 6, worked his way back. I'm not going to go miraculous, but remarkable comeback. To get back in time for the playoffs. In fact, 2 games before the playoffs, and he collected his first sack since coming back. So I'm so happy that Jonathan Allen is back here, and he's finally on a good football team, and he's going to be able to experience playoff football with a team with a legitimate chance to win some playoff games this year. Third game ball goes to Mike Sainristil. He took his lumps today, but he had a really good football game in my opinion. He was good in coverage. He made some big-time tackles out in open space, and Sainristil, was drafted to be a nickel star type of guy, kind of in the slot, kind of be a slot specialist, but he has really proven himself as an outside corner this year, and he's come up huge for them in a spot where there's just not any depth on this team. Next week, you're going to get Marshon Lattimore back, and Sainristil can go back to his role that he's more comfortable in as a number 2 outside corner, and I'm excited to see what he does in the postseason. Final game ball goes to Dan Quinn. The reason why that is because, in 1 year, he's been able to turn this team around from, a terrible football team, bad offense, bad defense, the whole 9 yards, and, completely turn it around in 1 year, where I think he should be considered for Coach of the Year. All right, 5-game winning streak to finish out the season when this team was facing some adversity before that. Remember that. A lot of people really sold their stock in the Commanders after that little skid they went on, but then they really turned it around, and they've won a lot of these close games. That's what good football teams do, man. They find ways to win, and it starts at the top. Dan Quinn has done a hell of a job, and it's led to the best record for the Commanders since 1991. That's 33 seasons, y'all. I want to know. Let me know down there in the comment section what's your one-word reaction to today's game. My one word has got to be Mariota or clutch, whatever you guys want. But, man, it's got to be something revolving around Mariota. Let me know yours down there in the comment section for today's pinned comment. YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. And when that happens, take advantage of that time by giving me your one-word reaction to today's win. First takeaway is that it was a disappointing day for Jayden Daniels. And, if Dan Quinn just decided to, not play Jayden the entire game, we'd be feeling better about, the way Jayden is going into the postseason. Because when he was in there, the accuracy wasn't good. He was relying on his legs too much. And, I think that was scaring Dan Quinn a little bit too much. He only had 38 yards passing today. He almost had more rushing yards today, I think. Like he made some nice plays, sure, but he also missed some pretty easy ones today, in my opinion. And the offense just wasn't working that entire first half. And then Mariota comes in as backup, and he shows them how it's done. So, I'm not necessarily worried about Jayden. He's the offensive rookie of the year. He had a historic rookie campaign, but this was kind of a disappointing end to a regular season that has really been one of the best rookie campaigns for a quarterback we've seen in a very long time. And then on the flip side there, you got to be very impressed by Marcus Mariota. And I'm ready to say this right now. After his performance versus the Panthers earlier this year, and then today against the Cowboys, especially what he did in the clutch, I think he's going to be a bridge quarterback for some team in the NFL next year. I don't know if it's like the Jets. I don't know if it's the Raiders. I don't know if it's the Giants. I don't know where he ends up, but I think he's a week 1 starter for an NFL franchise in week 1 of the 2025 NFL season. I think he's played well enough to earn that. I think that his pocket presence has really shown improvement. I was really impressed by his mental processing. His accuracy was pretty good, and his moxie and poise under, really big-time pressure was huge for this football team today. I think a team is going to look at that. They're going to see his veteran leadership, the way that he has really cultivated the talent of Jayden Daniels being a mentor for him this year. And they're going to say, hey, if we're going to be bringing in a young quarterback, I want Marcus Mariota on my team to mentor my new quarterback. So I honestly think, the Raiders might be a good spot for Marcus Mariota, and you got to be impressed with him, man. I think he's a week 1 starter next year because of this game. So never miss a moment here on the Commanders Report. We got a playoff watch party next week, and we also have extensive draft, trade, and free agency rumors every single day during the offseason, and every time Adam Peters makes a big move. And once again, the Commanders have a lot of cap space, guys. It's going to be a very fun offseason if you're a Washington Commander fan. So make sure you click that subscribe button right now as this team hopefully builds their next Super Bowl champion here in the nation's capital. Third takeaway, the run game is absolutely dead, all right? There's no doubt about it. This offensive line needs a complete rebuild next offseason, but, Brian Robinson Jr. averaged 2 yards a carry in this one, 10 yards total on 5 carries. The run game just couldn't get anything going. Plain simply, Austin Eckler was clearly the better player in the run game today. And, this is now, 4 or 5 games in a row where B-Rob has been unremarkable. And, a lot of it comes down to the offensive line. But B-Rob certainly hasn't been great when his backups are doing a better job moving the football. And today really didn't see any of Chris Rodriguez Jr. with Austin Eckler back. Next week in the playoffs, I want to see Chris Rodriguez Jr. get more reps. Fourth takeaway here, the offensive line continues their downward spiral. This is a group that needs multiple fixes in the offseason. I think Nick Allegretti needs to be replaced. I'm cool with Biotish and Cosme in the middle there, but then you got to get a new right tackle. And then you got to think about moving Brandon Coleman away from left tackle if you can upgrade at that spot too. So there's definitely some work that needs to be done on that offensive line this offseason. And because of that, I think that this is going to have to be a very pass-heavy team in the postseason in order to have success. Then the final takeaway here, this defense obviously needs Marshon Lattimore back. I mean, Benjamin St-Juste had multiple poor plays in this football game coverage-wise. Getting Lattimore back is huge for this defense, and he is expected to play next week, all right? So he almost played this week, at least according to Dan Quinn. So you get him at number 1 corner, and then you have Samerstill, who's been very solid as your number 2 outside guy, Igbenogany. He's probably the weak link in that secondary, but he's fine, I guess. And then hopefully you get Quan Martin back. He was out in this game with an illness. Hopefully he gets back in time for that postseason game next weekend. So let me know down there in the comments section, what's your confidence level in the Commanders for next week? On a scale of 0 to 100, how likely do you think it is that they win the playoff game on the road? Put it on a scale of 0 to 100 for me down there in the comments section. I'm probably sitting at around a 40%, maybe 45%. I feel like the Commanders can win next week, whether it's Tampa Bay, whether it's LA. I think that the Commanders, especially if Jayden Daniels is on, they have a chance to beat anybody they play in this league. Some final thoughts here. I thought that today was obviously a disappointing day for the starting offense, specifically with Jayden Daniels. But Marcus Mariota proved that even if, Jayden gets hurt, Mariota can come in and he can be a more than serviceable starter for an NFL offense. And, he showed that he can deliver in the clutch just as Jayden Daniels has this year. So my big takeaway out of this one, really has nothing to do with the Commanders because I honestly don't think he'll be a Commander next year, but it's Marcus Mariota made himself a pretty decent contract, and I think he's going to be a bridge quarterback for a team drafting a young quarterback next year. So Marcus, really impressive performance. Good on him. Jayden's got to play better next week, obviously, and now we just sit and wait to see if we play the Buccaneers or the Rams. We will have a preview for that game later this week on the Commanders Report. We'll also have extensive injury updates, the whole 9 yards this week, getting you ready for Wild Card Weekend, all culminating in a Wild Card game watch party right here on the Commanders Report. So make sure you click that subscribe button to never miss a moment.